Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works our meeting for Wednesday, May 12th. I do know the day. Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. Good morning, Dr. Campos.
Good morning, President Good. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, establishing roll call and quorum for today. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioner Coloza and Commissioner Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum for today. For the record,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For the record, all commissioners are dialing in remotely, except for Commissioner Good, who's dialing in from his office here at City Hall. I myself am dialing in remotely from my City Hall office. We're also joined by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, who is there by the moon with his background, but he is in calling in remotely. President Good, we also have representatives for the bureaus today on the call. Currently, there's nobody on the line for general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the neighboring council comments section, and no comments on any of the items for today's regular agenda 1 through 11.
FYI, just as a heads up, Fernando, you are faint. I'm not hearing you incredibly. Can y'all, there's something, hold on one second, everybody.
It could be my office. I do have the air conditioning really loud in here.
Everybody should check their volume as well on their instrument.
What is? There's something. There's also noise out here too. So if please don't hesitate.
Yeah, Dr. Campos, try muting for a second, and then we can see if the background noise goes away.
Well, the good news is we can make this work. The bad news is the last thing usually anyone wants to hear is Greg Good saying he's going to be extra loud. So we'll all have to deal. All right, let's hearing no comment. Let's jump right into our agenda this morning. Okay. First off, let's take care of the minutes from Wednesday, April 21, 2021. I will motion to move those forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns, Garcia, Villegas, or Colosa? All right, so hearing none, the minutes from Wednesday, April 21, 2021 are adopted and approved forthwith. We now will move to item one, and item one, we have a couple of bids to take. Dr. Campos, you headed this way?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Hi, Kumi.
Hi.
Good morning. All right, first set of bids received at 10 a.m. this morning. These bids are for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant, AWPF Advanced Water Purification Facility, Primary Equalization Basin, CIP 6888, it's a rebid. Emergency Backup Power, CIP 6145, rebid. AVORS, AVORS, and EVIS, EVIS, Gates Replacement, CIP 6231, rebid. Screw Pumps, Inlet Gates, CIP 6234, also a rebid, and then Japanese Garden Lake Affluent Bypass, CIP 6235. Work orders SZD 11344, SZD 11134, SZD 11324, SZD 11329, and SZD 11365. The estimated cost of the project is $83,191,000, and this is in Council District 6. And they're about to take the bids.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Again, if I just see a little while, just please let me know. We begin to open up the bids for the Donald C. Tillman bid received for the first project is from Walsh Construction Company, LLC, for a total bid amount of $134,810,407 even. That's $134,810,407 from Walsh Construction Company, LLC. The second and final bid received for the first project is from Kiewit Infrastructure West Company, for a total bid amount of $111,193,000 even. That's $111,193,000 from Kiewit Infrastructure West Company. That's been good. That concludes the bid openings for the first project. We will now begin to open up bids for the second project.
Okay, let me read it into the record real quick. I only read it in the first one. This is for West Side Mobility Phase 2, Council District 5, West Side Traffic Signal Improvements and Warner Center Project. Work order E1908861. Estimated cost of the project, $5,084,771. Project is in CD 3, 5, 11, and 12. But we have 3 sets of bids.
Yes, 3 seconds.
Sorry, yeah.
Good.
Yes, yes. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, Fernando Thomas, Executive Officer, opening up the bids for the second project. Again, this is for the West Side Traffic Signal Improvement in Council Districts 3, 5, 11, and 12. We did receive 4 bids in total for the second project. The first bid received is from Electmore Belco Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $6,095,000 even. That's $6,095,000 from Electmore Belco Electric Incorporated. For the record, line item number 51 has been crossed out by the contractor and has been initialed. The second bid received for the second project is from ABC Incorporated, doing business as Dynalectric LA, for a total bid amount of $4,816,000 even. That's $4,816,000 from ABC Incorporated. The third bid received for the second project is from International Line Builders Incorporated, doing business as ILB Electric, for a total bid amount of $4,719,105 even. That's $4,719,105 from ILB Electric. The fourth and final bid received for the second project is from Comet Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $4,136,829 even. That's $4,136,829 from Comet Electric Incorporated. For the record, line items 1 through 16, line item 49, 51, 52, and the total bid amount have all been lined out by the contractor, and none of those lines has been initialed by the contractor. Reading the total bid amount again for the record is $4,136,829, and that's from Comet Electric Incorporated. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the second project.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Third project, West Side Unit 5 series to multiple high voltage conversion, fiscal year 2020-21. Work order L2049,456. Estimated cost of the project, $1,206,500. This is in CD 4 and CD 14.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will now begin to open up the bids. We received 3 bids in total for this project. The first bid received for the third project is from International Line Builders Incorporated, doing business as ILB Electric, for a total bid amount of $1,266,107 even. That's $1,266,107 second bid received for the third project is from Servitech Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,230,090 even. That's 1230090 from Servitech Electric Incorporated. The third and final bid received for the third project is from Electron Belvo Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,418,931 even. That's 1418931 from Electron Belvo Electric Incorporated. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the third project and also includes the bid openings for all projects in today's agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Kumi. Do I have a motion to accept all these bids on these three projects?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns, Garcia or Colosa? All right, hearing no concerns, the bids on these three projects have been received and adopted and moved forward forthwith for the process. All right. Thank you all. That brings us to item number 2. Item number 2 is an amendment of reallocation, an amendment of reallocation of funding for the Public Works Trust Fund, from the Public Works Trust Fund, recommending the board, 1, amend the attached June 19th, 2020 Board of Public Works report approved by the City Council, which added a 6th federally reimbursed project to the $6,875,000 loan from the Public Works Trust Fund to the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund. The board report is requesting a change in funding allocation for 3 of the 6 projects with no change to the total PWTF loan amount. And 2, authorize the following changes to the funding allocation for 3 of the 6 projects. A, increase the allocation for the Ventura Boulevard, Amigo Avenue to Calhoun Avenue, Ventura Boulevard street lighting project by $350,000 from $938,000 to $1,288,000. B, decrease the allocation for the enhanced MTA bus stop security lighting project by $60,000 from $619,200 to $559,200. C, decrease the allocation for the Wilshire Boulevard, Curson Avenue to Wilson Place, Wilshire Boulevard street lighting project by $290,000 from $2,595,400 to $2,305,400. And D, authorize that grant reimbursements from the state and the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority be deposited into the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund and subsequently transferred back to the PWTF no later than 1 week after the deposit has been made. Reference BPW 2020-0386 CF 16-1256. I know we're going to get a Public Works Trust Fund report later in the meeting, but let's jump into this. Dr. Campos, are you presenting on this, or is BSL?
BSL is President Good. We have Janet Kwan for the
Hi,
Street
Janet.
Lighting.
Ms. Kwan. Good morning.
We do have Mr. Norman Tagnata, our fund manager, on the line, and then, of course, I'm on the line as well for any questions.
Great. Thank you. All right, please proceed, Ms. Kwan.
Good morning. Janet Kwan with Bureau Street Lighting. I'm here to recommend an amendment to revise the funding ceilings for 3 of 6 projects included in an existing Public Works Trust Fund loan to the Street Lighting Maintenance Assessment Fund. This revision reallocates the funds within the loan and will not change the total loan amount of $6,875,000. The reason for this reallocation request is to increase funding for the Ventura Boulevard, Amigo Avenue to Calhoun Avenue project. This is a series to multiple conversion project that replaces the existing high voltage street lighting system with a low voltage LED system. The project specified conversion of 220 lights to LED. The existing system was constructed between 1962 and 1972 and the cables installed were not lead sheathed, so the plan called for the existing conduit to remain and only for the wires to be removed. We did not expect to encounter deteriorated wiring fused with the existing conduit. Unfortunately, this was the case, and the contractor was unable to remove the wires in intermittent sections of conduit run between Amigo Avenue and White Oak Avenue, approximately 14 blocks. New conduit must be installed in order to complete the system conversion. An increased allocation of $350,000 will cover the cost of new conduit work required for this section. This cost increase has been approved by Caltrans and is federally reimbursable. To fund the additional $350,000 required, we propose to reduce the funding for two other projects included in the Public Works Trust Fund loan, $60,000 from the Enhanced MTA Bus Stop Security Lighting Project, and $290,000 from the Wilshire Boulevard, Carson Avenue to Wilton Place project. Both of these projects are field complete, so we have a very good idea of what the final contract cost will be. The remaining funds in these projects after the reallocation will be enough to cover the final contract costs. The proposed reallocation will not change the original Public Works Trust Fund loan amount of $6,875,000. This concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your report, Ms. Kwan. It was thorough. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. President Pro Tem Davis, any questions?
Yeah, Ms. Kwan, thank you so very much for your update in terms of what we're going to do technologically on this project, but I also want to compliment the Bureau for your financial analysis in terms of how you're going to get the money from the Public Trust Fund and how you have carefully and critically looked at other funds that you have done, and you have captured those and reinvested those in this project. I like that, and it certainly makes good sense the way that you have done that. So I compliment you guys for doing that, and it would be great if more bureaus could take an opportunity to do what you have done financially in your analysis. So thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. No questions for me. I thought Ms. Kwan did a great job with her report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good. Good morning. I don't have any questions either. Janet Kwan, good job on your report.
Right. I don't either. This makes perfect sense, and it was crystal clear in the report. So thank you very much, Ms. Kwan. I will entertain a motion to move the item forward.
So move.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any concerns or questions, Villegas or Coloso? All right. Hearing no objections, the item is adopted and approved forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Kwan.
Thank you.
Right. Now on to item 3. Item 3 is bid rejection for project in CDs 1, 10, and 15. Tree trimming, parkways of 25th Street from Tobin Street to Hoover Street and certain other streets. Recommended board reject all bids received for this project and notify all bidders of the Board of Public Works action. Hector Benuelos is with us, I see. Hello, Mr. Benuelos.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, President Good, Commissioners.
Good morning. It's a much easier item than most of the ones you come here with.
Pretty much, so yes. Good morning, everybody. My name is Hector Benuelos. I'm with the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. What we have before us is a request for the board to reject all bids received for a tree trimming project. This is a project that was part of the street lighting assessment funds in districts where there are street lighting, and the locations are collaborated with the Bureau of Street Lighting. Whereas they have allocated approximately $1 million, or actually this fiscal year of 1920, they allocated $980,000 for tree trimming to improve street lighting illumination. During the fiscal year of 2021, past fiscal years, funding shortages, the city did not provide any on-demand tree trimming. As a result, we have tree trimming crews that were able to perform tree trimming identified in this contract. And so the work is being performed right now as we speak, and it's being done by city forces. So therefore, we're requesting that the board to reject all the bids that were received for this project. And as we have city forces that are able to perform this work on overtime. That concludes my presentation. I'm here to address or answer any questions the board or the public may have.
Thank you very much, Hector. Let's start. Any questions, President Pro Tem Davis?
So, okay, in terms of the, help me remember, did we increase in the last fiscal year the teams that we have doing tree trimming in-house? Because I think I heard you say that our in-house teams were able to complete this work, which is good. But please help me remember, did we increase our teams in-house or from the past fiscal year, Hector, or do you know?
No, we have not. We haven't increased in about a couple of years. We have city forces, as I mentioned. City forces were at one time doing on-demand tree trimming.
Oh, I see.
Weekends, and so therefore that kind of helped alleviate the staffing needs to complete this project. And so with that, the crews are doing tree trimming on overtime and trimming the trees identified within the this project.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. No questions for me. Want to thank everyone who put in a bid and took that time to do it. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that our city forces are able to do this work in-house and give them that work. You guys do a great job. Thanks, Mr. Banuelos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Vice President Garcia? You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, President Good. Hector, question: did we increase funding on this? How are we now able to? Which I'm happy to, by the way, that our forces are the ones doing the tree trimming. But how did we make this happen? Because I know a couple of years ago this was not possible.
Yeah, a couple of years ago we were doing trimming and on demand on the overtime, right, on the weekends, and in addition to doing work during the week. And so the way it happened is that I guess due to the funding shortages, the fiscal crisis that we've been encountering the last year and a half or so, there's no more on-demand tree trimming. And so if we were doing the on-demand tree trimming, we wouldn't have the capacity to do this work, right? Because it's all be done on overtime. And so with that, now we're able to do the work on overtime because we do not have the on-demand. And so we have the crews available to do it on overtime during the weekends.
Okay. So just for my clarity then, we are not doing tree trimming on demand anymore, but we've redirected our efforts to now doing the tree trimming around the street lights, right?
That is correct. Yes, that were identified in this contract. That's correct.
Got it. Okay, and then my last question, and is your department allowed to do overtime at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty clear to me now. Thank you so much, Hector, for your report.
Thank you, President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. Thank you, President Good. And I don't have any questions either. Thank you for your report, Mr. Banuelos.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Yeah, so the irony, Hector, is we are now able to do less work, which then allows us to do this work.
Something like that, yes.
I don't have any questions. Thank you. And I'll take a motion to move this forward.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Seconded by Garcia. I read your mind. Any concerns, Closer Davis?
No concerns for me.
All right, hearing none, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you, Hector. I think you're with us now for item 4, a near identical item. This is a bid rejection tree trimming pathways of Woodbridge Street from Laurel Canyon Boulevard to Radford Avenue and certain other streets, recommending the board reject all bids received for this project and notify all bidders of the Board of Public Works action. Go ahead, Hector.
Yes, good morning again. Hector Banuel, Streets LA Urban Forest Division. Yeah, this is similar to the previous project, almost identical, just a different area of the city. This is actually the valley portion of the city of LA, where the Bureau of Streetlight provided some funding to trim approximately 2,500 trees on this particular project. And the city is now able to perform this work due to some of the, I should say changes within the crew configurations and funding provided for overtime work. So we're asking that the board approve our request to reject all bids for this project so that the city forces can continue to provide the tree trimming services.
Thank you, Hector. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that again. Hector, do you know from the street services perspective, have we done a strategic plan in terms of anticipating how much we will be able to capture as a result of our new position? How much gain will we be able to achieve as a result of this change that we have experienced? And certainly just for today, we have 2 particular projects for which we have been able to help. But looking forward, since this seems to be a phenomenon, how much impact will it have in terms of what you anticipate that we might be able to achieve and accomplish looking forward to some similar kinds of tasks that we've talked about today?
Well, this one, these projects, these 2 projects, right, the one I previously presented and this one here, we have a combined 5,000 trees properly trimmed on both projects. In the previous years, we've had funding given to Streets LA for on-demand tree trimming and all the council.
Sure.
So with now this fiscal year, they didn't provide anybody for on-demand tree trimming. And so really, we didn't gain much, but only the capacity to trim these trees on overtime because we didn't have the funding for the on-demand tree trimming. So that's the only way we were able to complete these projects. Had it been that we were doing the on-demand tree trimming, we wouldn't have the capacity to trim these, to do the work on these 2 projects here.
We wouldn't have had the time, right? If we had these other jobs, we would not have had the time. We have the time, but we
wouldn't have the time nor the crews to do the work.
Right. So now we have both the time and the crews. If these kinds of situations pop up again, because of what has occurred, there's a possibility that we might be able to continue to do this kind of stuff, right?
If the council elects to reinstate the on-demand tree trimming, I do not believe we're going to have the capacity to do this type of work with the crews we have in place now.
Okay, true. However, the fact that they have not implemented on demand, how much capacity will we potentially have with situational circumstances such as the 2 we have here today to be able to continue to do this is my question.
Yes, right now we only have the capacity to trim about 30,000 trees each year.
I see.
Yeah, and so we did not increase our capacity.
I see.
Until council or the CAO approves more tree trimming crews, we're pretty much going to stay at the production we're at now.
Okay, so there will not be, as we look at it, any serious impact on the potential trees that have been allocated to private industry, if you will, that we don't anticipate any big impact like we have seen here today in terms of being able to do it in-house. I thought that we might potentially be able to expand temporarily the scope of work that our in-house crews can do on some of the work coming up for us, maybe over the next quarter, if you will.
I do not believe we're going to be able to increase our capacity, what I previously mentioned.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Coloso?
No questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Banuelos, for your report.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. Vice President Garcia?
No questions from me either. Thank you.
All right. And Commissioner Villegas?
And no questions for me either. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I have no questions either. I do. Well, I am. One quick question is: so these bids were received over a year ago, and we just what have we been doing with them?
Yes, the bids were received on March, actually on May 26th. Yes, almost a year ago to the day. However, we're trying to get it awarded. You know, the process, they had to go through the cost containment from the mayor. And so lengthy process at that. And so as we all know. And so we just could not get it awarded. Meanwhile, we're waiting to see word on the on-demand to all the budget sessions and hearings and so forth. So then it occurred to us that if we're not doing the on-demand, we're not going to get funded for the on-demand, then we'll have the funding or the crews available to do the work on overtime. And so it's kind of an idea from our director that, hey, we just will do the work in-house.
Got it.
Right, an opportunity there for the crews to gain a little bit of overtime, and at the same time, get some production, get the trees trimmed.
That makes sense. Okay. I have no further questions. Do I have a motion to move it forward?
I'll move it forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, got a second.
You give it to Garcia and give it to the VP.
All right. You get a second from Garcia. Any concerns, Davis or Colosa?
None for me.
All right. Hearing no concerns, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you very much, Mr. Banuelos. Have a great weekend, okay? Or have a great week.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So let's move on, colleagues, to item number 5. Item number 5 is a request for qualifications, landscape and site services, community level contracting. Recommending the board: 1, authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation or his designee to distribute and advertise the admitted request for qualifications for landscape and site services, to establish 2 on-call lists of contractors for small and large work packages for landscape and site services for all Bureau of Sanitation facilities. 2, evaluate the statements of qualifications and select the most qualified proposers based on established rating criteria. 3, negotiate contracts with the most qualified proposers. 4, award and execute the negotiated contracts subject to the mayor and council approval. And 5, establish ranking for the most qualified proposers by random drawing in order to create the initial on-call contractor lists. Ali Visi, I believe you're here on this item, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
This is your baby.
Yes. Well, good morning, President Good, commissioners, council, board representatives, and Dr. Campos. I am here to request authority to distribute a request for qualification to negotiate 2 on-call list of contractors for landscape and site services at LA Sanitation facilities. I would like to also mention that this is a community level contracting opportunity, so it's got the backing of the mayor. The scope of the contract will be general landscape, hardscape maintenance services, landscape feature maintenance, construction and repair, tree trimming, nursery support, professional landscape architectural services, herbicide and pesticide services. The contracts will be 5-year terms with 2 optional 2-year extensions for a total of 9 years. The total cost ceiling is approximately $14.4 million or $1.6 million per year. We're looking to establish 2 lists of contractors. One list we're calling large work packages, which is above $50,000. The second list will be small contract or small work packages up to $50,000. So when proposers submit their SOQs, they will be required to select which list they would like to be on. You can't double dip. You can't be on both lists. So we're looking for our smaller list up to $50,000 to include small local businesses and minority businesses as well. For the large contractors, we're asking that their BIP requirements be at levels of 18% MBE, 4% WBE, 10% SBE, 5% EBE, 2% DVBE, and 0% LGTBE. For the small packages, the mayor's office has waived the BIP requirements. The charter section 1022 was performed on September 29th, 2016. However, previously when I presented this, the board asked that we, sanitation, redo the 1022 process because of the length of time between when it was done and when we came to board. So after that meeting, we met internally and we came up with an idea to keep this moving while we do the 1022 process over concurrently. And we met with the involved commissioners and they all agreed to it. So that being said, we have started the 1022 process over and it's going through, but we would like approval to go ahead and advertise this. And if the 1022 comes back differently, we'll make adjustments and make it work. And then finally, there's no impact to the general fund, and this project is not to exceed $14,400,000. And that's my presentation. I'll be ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vesey. Colleagues, let's open this up. Questions, Commissioner Closer?
Thank you, President Good. No questions from me. I just want to thank LA Sand for all their leadership on this. We have been hearing a lot about an initiative called community level contracting as of late. And I think this is one where we did a really great job of actually marking that on the board reports because it was important to identify when these opportunities came before board. And I think what LA Sand did here is provide that flexibility to have 2 different types of lists. And one list, the smaller work package, like we heard, will really provide that opportunity, hopefully for smaller contractors to have that opportunity to do business with the city as a prime for the first time. And, this isn't, less work for the city. It's actually more work because we're going to be dealing with more contractors, but we know the value of what it means to provide this kind of experience to our smaller firms. So I just want to thank Mr. Vesey, Mr. DeFeta, Mr. Tran, of course, Tracy and our general manager Enrique for all their support on this. And I want to thank my co-pilot in this, Dr. Mike Davis, on all of our CLC opportunities. And one last round of thanks, of course, to Mr. John Reamer of BCA and Hannah Choi, who I wish was here, and that we weren't able to do this during her week of retirement for her to see this, but I know she would be so proud to see this moving forward. So that's really it for me, and I'm just excited to finally vote on this, and thanks again to LA Sand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closer. President Pro Tem Davis?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. And to join Commissioner Colosa, I am so thrilled of the leadership that sanitation has taken to help implement a motion that will help make reality the increased opportunities for small businesses and also for emerging businesses. I think this motion will help us to present a shot in the arm to those who are doing business with the city of Los Angeles, small businesses and emerging businesses. And I think it's going to be wonderful in terms of our economics that the small business and the emerging business community can be excited about what the opportunities are to do work in our big city. I mean, it is something that perhaps we should have done a long time ago, but I'm so pleased to know that the Bureau of Sanitation, which is one of our major bureaus in our department, has taken the leadership to lead the way in this. And so for that, even though I have no questions, I wanted to compliment you on that, and I'm excited about voting on this motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your report, Mr. VC. I know this came to our board in December of last year. I appreciate that you were able just to answer our questions. Thank you for the briefing as well. I'm glad that you were able to update, the 1022 process. I know it's been arduous and some time that had been updated. And at the time, I know my questions were just concerning that, just to ensure that we don't have the capacity to do this work in-house, and that's why we have to go, to private contractors. So thank you for your diligence. I appreciate it. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Ali, quick question. What are the level amounts for the level contracting on for you? Like, what's the maximum and what will be the minimum, I guess?
The small work packages are from up to $50,000. Large work packages are above $50,000.
Nice. And about how many small community of the 50,000? About how many are you looking to contract with?
We're looking to contract with a maximum of 10.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to ditto what all my colleagues said on this, but this is a very exciting process we're going through. I know that it's new, Ali, and yeah. I thank the sanitation department for doing this. 50,000 is really something that I think our small business community would really appreciate and embrace and actually thrive for. Sometimes we're like the big scary monster to the small businesses because they don't even know how to get their foot in the door with such big contracts that we have. So giving them this opportunity is amazing. And I want to thank my colleagues on the board, Commissioner Calosa and Commissioner Davis, for working on this with BCA and of course BCA and all their staff. This is something that is amazing, and I hope that the rest of our bureaus will follow as well. So Ali, thank you for being a pioneer. And now, yes, like Commissioner Calosa said, you will have a little bit more work, but just a tiny bit more work. But the benefit that you're doing will have a ripple effect in our city with our small business, especially now that our small businesses have gone through so much in the past year, that giving them this light of hope, I think is really well needed. So thank you, Ali, for being a champion on this.
Well, if I may, Commissioner, I'd like to ditto what you said about us being the big scary monster. When we were conceptualizing this, our original thought was to have the work package cut off at 100,000, and then we had more conversation and said, well, mom and pop probably won't want to bid on 100,000, so we could probably get more if we lower the ceiling for the small businesses. So that is something that we did take into consideration. And then I'd also like to thank Commissioners Davis and Calosa for championing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali, for doing that. And also, again, Commissioner Calosa and Commissioner Davis, thank you. This is exactly where we should be at right now. That's all. President Good.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice President Garcia. Okay, and thank you very much, Ali. Your persistence has been persistent. Hey, what's the what's the anticipated timeline on this project?
Well, hopefully we get your signature in the next week or so, and then, or Dr. Campos' signature, and then we'll put it on LA Bobbin. And I would say, I'm hoping by late fall, we can have, be ready to come back to you for authority to initiate the contracts.
And that was actually, thank you. That was actually one of my questions, which is, well, just as a technical matter, where doesn't, and maybe this is a Ted question or Fernando, on these contracts, does the board need to sign these and execute these?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, we're a long way from that point.
Yeah.
Right, because all we're doing is, but I just am noting on recommendation 4, award and execute the negotiated contract subject. Now, I know obviously it'll come back to us for approval, but will that, Ollie, would that be without signature, and you'd be asking for?
We'd be asking for your signature, yes.
Okay, great, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, great.
And President Good also, because the contracts are anticipated to be for a term of up to 9 years, you know, the 5-year plus 2-year options, they'll also have to be approved by the city council.
It'll have to go back to council.
Oh, right, that makes sense. Well, and on that note, just a quick question also, Ollie, by the way, I mean, great, and I agree, I mean, to not only apply community level contracting here, but to also actually call it out, which is an important element, I think is great. One thought, and you know, we can, you know, we have a blue sky, and then we do what we can do, is, will there be an opportunity, I know we have in the past, would there be an opportunity in the future to potentially expand the list? And here's actually my point. Given that this is a 9-year contract, you know, and we're going to have that small list, I just wonder if there would be opportunities for other folks to get on that list in the future, or will we be limited for that 9 years to that universe of folks who we get on?
This is probably a better question for council, but I think, in my opinion, that once the list is established, that list will be the list for the term of the entire contract, for the entire 9 years.
Okay. Any thoughts?
President Good, yeah, that's how that would work. The Bureau always has the opportunity, if it chooses to, and the Bureau of Engineering has done this once before,
yeah,
sort of at the direction of the board, to at a certain point, you know, midway or whenever, to essentially re-advertise. And, you know, everyone who's on the list, they need do nothing. They'll stay on the list. Now, keep in mind, we have 2 lists here. But if other firms want to get onto a list, they would have the opportunity in order to do that. You know, keep in mind though, and the Bureau will be able to speak to this much more, much better than me. To the extent the list has, say, for example, the small list has 10 contractors, that takes the universe of work and sort of spreads it evenly through the 10 contractors. If at a certain point we add 10 more, and I'm just making up the numbers, now you're sort of diluting the work. So but there may be firms that are on the small list that want to, you know, get onto the big list. So it's a very difficult dynamic to predict as we sit here today. But the answer to your question is yes, they can if they want to, but there may be reasons not to try to expand the list. And the firms that are on the list, they wouldn't necessarily want to have more people added to it. So it's a balance that we'll need to strike here.
Yeah, I definitely hear the latter, that folks might not. But then to your point also, I mean, you know, 9 years is a long time. You could see some of these smalls if the you know, given that the idea is that they essentially train as primes, that train is maybe the wrong verb, but that they may, you know, at some point want to move on to the large project list. Ollie, what are your thoughts? By the way, I'm not trying to undermine the work. I'm actually trying to see if there's ways to sort of accentuate the goals here.
No, you're exactly right, and part of our thought process was that we can help smaller businesses grow themselves into larger businesses. And as far as the term goes, if there's a point where we say, hey, we need more contractors, the 2-year extension is not a guarantee. We can,
Well, that's it, right.
yeah. So at that point, we could say, hey, we noticed that we need more people on this, or more firms on this list, and we re-advertise.
That's right, because it's 5 years with two-year extensions.
Plus 2 twos, yes.
So you're going to revisit at 5 anyway.
Yes.
So, okay. I think that's great. I'm not going to like try to introduce an amendment or anything. I would just encourage you in the bureau and us, if we're here, to at 5 years to look at that. I mean, you're going to be in contact with the contractors anyway,
Yeah.
and it just may be an opportunity to bring in some additional folks, see some folks transition into the large projects, and sort of shake the snow globe up a little. And 5 years would be probably a good incubation time for those smaller project contractors to get their feet. I'm just throwing metaphor out like it's going out of style, but get their feet sort of firmly planted in it. And so I would encourage us as a city family, as a public works family, to keep that in mind, not only with this one, but with other community contracting. Those timelines, what that sweet spot is, to not sort of limit the universe, but also to have the opportunity to continue expanding it.
And that's part of our thought process.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Another scenario, President Good, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, another scenario that could play out, and again, this is purely speculative at this point, simply because the board has taken action to authorize the release for qualifications at this point in time. Depending on how many qualifications the Bureau receives, we could end up with only 5. So therefore, at that point, the board may want to solicit new advertisements for additional firms to be added on the list. However, if the results come back with 50 or 60 or maybe even 100 qualified candidates or firms, then perhaps maybe that would be sufficient for the 5-year period. So again, this is speculative, so we will know as soon as the release for qualifications is done, and then once the Bureau receives and qualifies those responses.
That is a excellent point, Judge Campos, and that's absolutely right. It'll be interesting to see what the response is, and that can help inform a lot of different things. So great point. One last question, Ollie, or Mr. BC. I do think it would be great for y'all to work with CAO's office on just helping in any way, particularly with those that are. I mean, there's time for this to help the community level contractors with bond assistance. I know that they're certainly equipped to do that, and I think it could be helpful.
Good point.
President Good, this is Ted. If I could add to that, that's an excellent idea. So Ollie, the CAO's office, at least they used to, and I believe they still do because I worked with them on it. They have a bond assistance program, and they have a firm that they bring in that we contract with that is specifically there to provide assistance for our smaller contractors. And they may even work with subcontractors to help them get the bonding necessary in order to compete, to get, and then work on city contracts. So it's a wonderful program. I believe they still have it in place. And so it may be a good tool for the Bureau to work with especially our smaller contractors, to get that final piece in place that they need to have either to bid on your projects or to actually have that performance bonding in place in order to do the tasks necessary. So it's just to mirror what President Good was saying. And I can help you get in touch with them if you're not quite sure who to contact, because they've had some staff changes over there as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wrote a note for myself, and we'll make sure to incorporate that.
Thank you. So that's all of my questions. You have been hyper diligent, and so we're still waiting for the 1022 determination.
It's in process. Yes.
Okay. So, and if there's any challenges, we'll deal with that as it
Yes.
Thank you, Ollie, for the report. By the way, it was thorough and excellent. I appreciate it. And again, you keep coming. So appreciate it. All right, I will entertain a motion to move the item forward.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Closer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have any concerns or questions, Villegas or Garcia?
None for me.
I didn't think so. All right. Hearing no objections, no concerns, no epiphanies or issues. The item is adopted and approved forthwith. Ollie and Alan, we look forward to, Alan, you're on this too, right? Look forward to seeing you guys back. We'll got a list and all the above, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks y'all very much. Have a great day, okay?
You as well.
Thanks. All right. Let's move on to item number 6. I think I had a Dan Myers sighting earlier, and I bet he's here for that item.
Commissioner Good, I will be for that item.
Okay, sorry. Well, it's still good to see you, Dan, and it's good to see you too, Ellen.
It's good to see you. Yeah.
All right, great. So item number 6, request for proposal, landfill disposal of wastewater grit and screenings. This is really, really lovely stuff, y'all. Recommending the board, 1, distribute and advertise the transmitted request for proposals for the landfill disposal of wastewater grit and screenings. Okay, so a lot of this is Hyperion, that's right. 2, evaluate the proposal, select and interview the most qualified proposers based on the established rating criteria. 3, negotiate a contract with the most qualified proposers. And 4, award and execute the contract subject to the mayor and city council's approval prior to contract execution. Work order S10FPURC. Alan, before we get into the presentation, I assume this is like item 5, the execution process or approval process on recommendation 4 would come back asking for us to potentially sign the ultimately negotiated contract, correct?
No, this is to request the board to authorize us to release the RFP
Right.
to select the contractor for the future contract for this project.
Right, but then you're going to negotiate based on the finders, and then you're going to come back and you're going to ask for authority. You're going to ask for authority to execute, but ask for us to sign.
Yes, we will.
Right. Okay. Great. All right. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning, President Good, Board Commissioners, Mr. Ted Jordan, and Dr. Campbell. My name is Alan Tran with the LSN. We are here for the RP of the wastewater grid and screening landfill disposal project. The wastewater grid and screening materials are generated from the wastewater treatment process and stormwater conveyance system. They consist of a combination of the sand, rock, sanitary products, plastic, and paper, which are non-digestible through the wastewater treatment system. They are contaminated with the raw sewage and required to be disposed at the landfill. We collect approximately 35 to 50 tons per day of the material. The city employees have been loading and transporting the material to the Simi Valley landfill. Currently, the city has an agreement with Waste Management, who is the owner and operator of the Simi Valley landfill, for providing the landfill service. And the current contract will expire on June 30, 2024. So this RFP will allow LSN to obtain the proposals to continue managing the disposal of the wastewater grid and screening in the compliance with the federal, state, and local regulation. The term of the new contract will be for 5 years with 2 5-year renewal options at the city discretion. And the total budget is estimated about $18.29 million for the total of 15 years if the city decides to exercise the renewal option. The funding for the new contract will be coming from the sewer operation and maintenance special fund. Therefore, there will be no impact on the general fund. Regarding the MBWBE subcontractor participation for this project, We have thought and checked from many possible directions to see whether we can come up with any for this project. Unfortunately, the hauling responsibility is the only opportunity for the subcontracting, and it is being performed by the city employee. The city employees have been handling this task excellently. Basically, once we transport the material to the disposal site, we just simply paying for the tipping fee to landfilling of the materials. Therefore, the MBWBE waiver was granted by the mayor office. So we would like to request the board to authorize LSN to release the RP for the landfill disposal of wastewater grid and screening, to evaluate proposals, select and interview the most qualified proposer, to negotiate a contract with the best qualified proposer, and we're gonna return to the board for an authority to award, execute the contract, subject to the mayor and the city council approval prior to the contract execution. And this concludes my presentation, and thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. Colleagues, Vice President Garcia, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, President Good. I actually do not have any questions on this item.
Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Allen, for your report. I don't have any questions either.
Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Mr. Tran. I thought you were very thorough, and I just have a few follow-up questions. In relation to the current contract in place, can you summarize what the difference is, or what LASAN might be looking for differently in this RFP that we're issuing versus the current contract? Are there any major differences?
Good. Thank you for your question, Commissioner Calusa. There will be no different compared to the current contract. We still looking for the landfill owner and or landfill operator to provide us the landfill, so we can bring the material to the landfill for disposing, in order for us to comply with the state regulation. So there will be no different with the current contract.
Got it. And the current contract that we have now, is it also expiring from a 15-year contract, or is it a different length of time?
The current contract execute on 2016, so it's only 8 years contract, and now we're asking for the 5 years with the 2 5-year renewal options. So the total could be up to 15 years.
Got it. Okay. And let me see what my other question was. And I know you mentioned the process, and when you're returning back to us, and then council, since it's a 5-year contract with 2 5-year renewals. So can you give us maybe a little bit more specific projections with the timeline? Is it going to be later this year or later next year when you're planning to get proposals back and then return to board?
Okay, after the board approved for us to release the RP, so we anticipate to release an RP like sometime this summer, and with the process of the selection, interview, and negotiate a contract, it would take at least 2 years before we can come back to the board for asking the authority to award and execute a contract. So it could be like sometime in 2023.
So the next board will see this is what I'm hearing. Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify, because I appreciate LASAN coming in really early on this. I know the contract doesn't expire until 2024. This was mostly my question, is like, are we going to see this again? It sounds like this is really the last time most likely that we would touch this item, and it's a big one. Yeah. I don't have any further questions from you. I thought that your report was very thorough, and the board report was very thorough, and it's just trying to imagine this amount of material that we process every single day is just astronomical, and 74,000 to 100,000 pounds. So just huge, but thank you for your work on this, and I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Vice President Garcia. Or did I already ask you?
Yeah, you already asked me.
I'm sorry. So President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, all of my questions have already been answered, so I'm fine.
All right. And by the way, in the current contract, Mr. Tran, are we taking mostly everything to? Is it going to El Sobrante?
No, we're taking the material to Simi Valley landfill. El Soprante is the backup landfill.
Okay, got it. Okay. Yeah, I have no further questions. I will actually echo Commissioner Calosa. I looked at the timeline. I was like, wow, you guys are ahead of the game on this one. It's refreshing. I don't say that with derision, but anyway, everybody's got to be grinding and working. But refreshing to see this so far ahead. So good on y'all. Thank y'all very much. I'll motion to move the item forward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, I'll take 2 seconds. Villegas and Davis. Concerns or objections? Calosa or Garcia?
None from
Okay, hearing no objections, the item is adopted forthwith. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. Appreciate it. Always good to see you.
It's a,
We have a few administrative items and one more item as well. What I'd like to do real quick, folks, is take a 5-minute recess. So I'll see everybody. We are I'm officially recessing right now, and I'll see everybody back at 11:22 in the a.m.
Thank you.
All right. I need to be grateful.
One more. All right, President Good, we are now in record mode. If you'd like, I can go ahead and establish quorum again for you.
Please, sir.
Great. It is 11:24. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, reestablishing quorum for today for Wednesday, May 12th. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Calosa and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. All right, folks. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's move to. Well, no, you know, we'll take these administrative items and reports first. Then we'll do the supplemental agenda. Although, actually, can we take the supplemental agenda out of order? That way, the reports. Yeah, let's do that. Is BSL here and ready for this?
Ms. Evelinda Ping is on the line.
Hi, yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Hi, Ms. Pena.
Hello.
Hi. You thought we were going to miss you, huh? Good morning. All right, let's go to item 11, folks. Item 11 is it is advertisement number 2. Personal services contracts pre-qualified, basically to establish a pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list, bus stop lighting projects. Recommending the board, 1, determine the initial order of the pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list by random drawing. 2, authorize the director of the Bureau of Street Lighting to assign work packages to qualified contractors on the approved PQOC bus stop lighting contractors list for the construction of bus stop lighting projects for various public works projects. 3, authorize the director of BSL to administer, manage, and execute contracts of assigned work packages to qualified contractors on the approved PQOC bus stop lighting contractors list. And 4, request the executive officer to request the bonds and insurance within 5 days of the issuance of the work package from BSL. Ms. Pena, before we jump in, again, is the recommendation that does the board play a role in signing the master contracts on this list?
President Good, Fernando
Sorry?
Campos, Executive Officer. I can go ahead and respond to that, and then Ms. Pena can also respond to you as well, if she'd like. Recommendation number 3 currently does indicate to authorize the Director of Bureau of Street Lighting. I would recommend that that be modified or amended to authorize the President or 2 members of the board to execute the contract. So the Director of Bureau of Street Services or Street Lighting can administer and manage the contract, but the execution of the contract should be done by the President or 2 members of the board. This is a construction contract, and your board has never delegated that authority to any of the bureaus for a construction contract. This is not a personal services contract.
So, Ms. Pena, any response? Because otherwise, if we move forward, I'll end up recommending that amendment.
Dr. Campos did mention the adjustment for number 3, and we're okay with that.
Okay. All right, very good. So do you want to go ahead and make your presentation, and then I guess we need to do a drawing, correct?
That is correct, President Good. Good morning, President Good, Vice President Garcia, Commissioners, Executive Officer, and everyone present here on the Zoom call. My name is Evelinda Pena, and I'm with the Bureau of Street Lighting, here to speak on pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list, bus stop lighting projects. A little background. Our request to the Board of Public Works to authorize to issue a request for qualifications for a pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list was adopted by the board on September 11, 2020. Our RFQ was advertised on our Los Angeles Business Assistance Virtual Network, known as LA BAVIN, on September 17, 2020, and a mandatory pre-qualification virtual meeting was held on October 20, 2020. We had a total of 98 users download our RFQ from the LA BAVIN website. Statement of qualification packages were required to be submitted via email by November 11, 2020. These packages were reviewed by staff from the Department of Public Works for criteria relevant to the contractor's ability to perform the necessary work competently and to comply with city and governmental contracting requirements. 11 contractors submitted complete SOQ packages by the required date. I regret to inform that 3 contractors submitted incomplete packages and consequently were not evaluated. Subject to approval of the mayor, each contract recommended for award will commence upon the attestation of the city clerk and will have a term of 3 years. The Bureau of Street Lighting anticipates to issue as many work packages as necessary to serve the Bureau's needs. These packages will vary in size, however, not to exceed construction costs of $100,000 and will be assigned to contractors on a rotating basis. With that, the Bureau of Street Lighting requests the board approval for the following recommendations: to determine the initial order of the pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list by a random drawing, authorize the director of the Bureau of Street Lighting to assign work packages to qualified contractors on the approved pre-qualified on-call bus stop lighting contractors list for the construction of bus stop lighting projects for various public work projects, authorize the director of BSL to administer, manage, and the execution of the contractors to be as described by Dr. Campos of the work packages to qualified contractors on the approved pre-qualified on-call contractors list, and to request the executive officer to request the bonds and insurance within 5 days of the issuance of the work package from BSL.
Thank you, Ms. Pena. Thank you. Questions, President Pro Tem Davis?
Let's see. What did we say the timeline anticipated is, Mrs. Pena?
The timeline, you mean like the term for the contract would be for 3 years? 3 years.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. President, at this time.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, and thank you for the report, Ms. Pena. It was really thorough. Just a question on the three companies that they had to, they did not meet our requirements, or they were missing documents, what have you. Bear Electrical Solutions, Grunt to Co, and then JD Cooper. Were they notified?
I don't think they were notified yet because we hadn't gone through the process of presenting today, but they will be notified after today.
Okay, so they weren't notified before this random drawing is going to be done for us to basically create and approve the on-call list.
That is correct.
Is that standard?
I'm not sure. I mean, we reached out to everyone, and everybody had been notified as far as what the requirements were for them to submit. And these three companies were found that they were not BCA compliant. We did try reaching out to them, emailing them of the documentation that was not provided, but after that, I'm not aware if they were reached out afterwards.
Okay, so at least the initial communication was done that their applications were incomplete or insufficient for BCA's requirements.
As far as I'm concerned, that is correct.
Okay. All right. That was all my questions. I just wanted to, just for full transparency, wanted to ensure that the folks that weren't eligible, that they, at least they were notified. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Closa.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your report, Ms. Pena. I don't have any questions on this item. I thought your report was thorough, but I do want to make a friendly amendment to the title, because this is actually also a community level contracting project, and we've been doing our best to catch these since these opportunities have been moving at different times, but this is also one that was specifically a smaller package. The maximum for these is 100,000, so that smaller firms would have a better chance at bidding. And so, if possible, I would love to make that friendly amendment for the record to make sure that it's noted that this is one of those opportunities. And that's it from me. And is that possible, Dr. Campos? Or maybe that's when we move the item, when everyone's done.
Absolutely. Currently, there's two proposals for amendment. One is to add the community level contracting to the title, excellent recommendation, and also to modify recommendation number 3 to authorize the Director of Bureau of Street Lighting to administer and manage, and then the President or 2 members of the board to execute the contracts.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. And I also did want to quickly thank also the former General Manager of the Bureau of Street Lighting, Norma Izahakian, who was critical in getting this done. I'm sad that we didn't get to pass this while she was our GM, but also want to thank Miguel Sangalon for his continued support on this opportunity. So thank you, Ms. Pena.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Commissioner. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you, Commissioner Calosa, for adding that. I wanted to make sure that, I was going to say that if nobody said that, but I'm glad that you did. One of the things that Norma, when she was general manager, did so well was able to break down these bus lighting projects into a very feasible way that small businesses can be able to apply. So I'm excited to move that forward, and I'm excited that this is also lining up with the community level contracting. So thank you for that, Evelinda, for putting that work together. And I hope that we get contractors that really can align themselves as well and do the good work here, and then also grow them into becoming bigger and bigger contractors in the future. That's the goal here. So thank you, Evelinda. I have no questions. I'm glad, if nobody has put a motion, I'm happy to move a motion forward.
Okay.
Hold on, but it has all kinds of amendments, so I'll just wait.
So in essence, I mean, this was, I appreciate your proposed amendment, Commissioner Colosa, because I mean, as I was reading this, I was like, this sounds like community contracting, it smells like community contracting, it looks like it, so does it quack? So that makes sense, and so it really is, again, calling it out like we didn't know that. It's great. Okay, so Dr. Campos, so we have an amendment from Commissioner Colosa. We have the amendment from me, although I'm happy to let someone else do that amendment. And then a motion to move forward as amended, assuming everyone agrees with the amendments, from Garcia. So let's start with my amendment. Do we need to vote on the amendments, Fernando?
Absolutely, yes, Mr. President. If you'd like, I can go ahead and read both amendments. And if Vice President Garcia would like to consider both amendments in her motion, I can go ahead and document it that way.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Put it that way. So the recommendation or the motion from Commissioner Garcia would be to adopt the report as amended, to add community level contracting to the title of the report, and to modify or amend recommendation number 3 to authorize the Director of Street Lighting to administer and manage the contract, and the president or 2 members of the board to execute the contracts, and then the rest remains the same. Those would be the 2 amendments.
Correct.
Do we have a second to Vice President Garcia's motion as amended?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Davis, Villegas, any concerns or questions or follow-up?
No concerns for me on this item.
And none for me either, thank you.
Great. All right, hearing no objections, we'll take that as a 5-0, and the item is adopted as amended forthwith. Thank you very much, Ms. Pena.
Thank you very much, President Gooden.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I apologize, Ms. Pena, go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh. Did you have a question, Dr. Campos?
Don't we have to do a drawing?
I knew.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, yeah, we have to drawing. Shoot.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Action stuff.
Yeah, I feel like raffle tickets.
All right. So I need to put on a mask.
So we will now begin to establish the order of the pre-qualification list. If you give me 30 seconds, I will run over to President Goods' office.
Ted, that's one of those pictures you took, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Although I realize this is my nighttime moon, and I think since we're meeting at daytime, I should change to this picture,
Ah, look at
which
that.
I also took.
That's very pretty. Wow, that's impressive.
All right.
Okay.
I am now in President Goods' office. We have our witness here, Cindy Bassett. County Office Executive Officer, we have 11 firms that are being added to the on-call list. And we will now begin to open up the drawing. President Good, would you please select, I have an envelope with all 11 bids or firms.
Okay.
And we will go ahead and draw out the first one, and then if you'd like, you can call it out, or I can call it out.
No, that's fine. Number 1 is Advanced Lighting Services, Inc.
That would be in order number 1.
How about that? Number 2 is Axiom Group.
Random drawing.
Yes. Number 3, ProCal Lighting, Inc. Nothing mystic was happening right now. 4, Blue Collar Contractors. Thank you, sir. is C2PM. 6, RBT Electric Inc. 7, Servitec Electric Inc. 8, Pars Arvin Construction Inc. 9, Crown Electrical Corporation. 10, Valle Grande Construction.
Last one.
The last one, 11, ND Construction Company.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just to recap the order of the list for the on-call list. Order number 1, Advanced Lighting Services, Inc. 2, Axiom Group. 3, Trocal Lighting Incorporated. 4, Blue Collar Contractors. 5, C2PM. 6, RBT Electric Incorporated. 7, Servitec Electric Inc. 8, Pars Arvin Construction Inc. 9, Crown Electrical Corporation. 10, Valle Grande Construction. And 11, ND Construction Company. Thank you, Mr. President. We will note that for the report and also forward that to the Bureau of Street Lighting.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. And we've already moved the items, so we're good. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. We'll let Dr. Campos get back over to his desk, and we will go right to item number 7. Thank you, Ms. Pena.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you, Commissioners.
That day moon is really nice. You should stick with that during the day. It's lighting you up ever so elegantly.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7. We won't make Dr. Campos sprint. He's on his way. There we go. All right. Thank you, Fernando. Item number 7, specification submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids. This is in CD 11. Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant Headworks Fire Sprinkler System Replacement, CIP 2466. This is a rebid. Work order SZH 11864, estimated value or cost $2,488,000. Bid receipt date will be July 14, 2021. Do I have a motion to authorize the invitation for these bids?
Move.
So move.
I'll take Villegas' motion with a second from Davis. Any concerns, Closer or Garcia?
None.
All right. Hearing none, the item is adopted forthwith, and we can, the bids can be invited or solicited. All right. That brings us to item number 8. Item number 8 is an administrative item. The mayor and city council have approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute the Measure W Safe Clean Water Program, regional program transfer agreements for round 2 projects. We don't have need a presentation on this, correct, Dr. Campos?
That is correct. Item 8 and 9 are communications from the mayor and the city council authorizing your board to execute the contracts.
So we just received and filed on motion, right? So do I have a motion to receive and file on these? On this one, on not, right?
I'm sorry, President Good, Mike Scudetto of Sanitation. Just for clarification, that if there was an error, it was an oversight, it should be for round 1 projects.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mike. It's good to see you. And Fernando, can we amend that?
We will go ahead and do
It's
that.
just technical. You can do that in the journal, right? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Scuduto, for.
Thank you.
I think do I have a motion from Villegas to move, receive and file? Seconded by
I'll second.
Colosa. Any issues or concerns, Garcia or Davis?
No concerns for me.
All right, hearing none, the item is adopted, or received and filed. Item number nine, also a communication from the mayor's office. The mayor has approved and authorized the Board of Public Works on behalf of the Bureau of Street Lighting, and the Bureau of Contracts Administration to execute and award a contract to NBS for a software that will complete the calculation of updated street lighting maintenance assessments for over 550,000 parcels and make recommended changes to Proposition 218 related documents to conduct a citywide mail-in ballot process. Colleagues, you'll remember us hearing this item. Do I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
So move.
Okay, I got Colosa with a second from Davis. Garcia, Villegas, any concerns?
None for me, thank you.
Not from me.
All right, hearing no concerns, the item is received and filed. Thank y'all very much. That brings us to item 10, our oral report for today. We have Mr. Norman Tenata and Dr. Campos, who will provide us a Public Works Trust Fund update. This was continued from our meeting last week on Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. Good morning, Norman.
Good morning. Good morning, President Good, Board Commissioners, City Attorney, Bureau Representatives, and Executive Officer. Again, my name is Norman Tanada with the Board of Public Works. I'm here today to present the semi-annual update for the Public Works Trust Fund through December 31, 2020. You should have received a one-page summary of this report earlier this morning from me. Did everybody get that?
Yes, sir. Right.
Great. I would like to start off by providing a very brief background of the Public Works Trust Fund. The fund is comprised of 40 different deposit accounts and over 12,000 deposits. Roughly about 95% of these deposits are made by permittees to be used for a specific project or to pay for staff costs associated with the development's project inspections, approvals, etc. The other 5% consist of receipts, violation fees, donations, surcharges, etc. As stated in the report, as of June 30, 2020, the balance of the Public Works Trust Fund was $144.4 million. As of December 31, 2020, total deposits within the Public Works Trust Fund rose by about $10 million to $154.4 million. The money coming in to the fund are usually from revenue deposits, whereas the money going out are usually used for loans, expenses, transfers to the special fund, general fund, refunds to the depositors, etc. So again, during this time, the inflows were greater than the outflows, thus resulting in the $10 million increase. Driving this $10 million increase were mainly three accounts. The B permit account increased by about $6.6 million. Subdivision guarantee deposits increased by about $1.7 million. And the BSS other deposits increased by about $1.5 million. The second section of the report provides overall breakdown of the $154.4 million within the Public Works Trust Fund. Again, $110.4 million is the outstanding balance of 16 loans as detailed in the loans overview section below. Another $3.7 million consists of approved but pending loans pending disbursement. The $2.5 million are set aside for appropriations related to city plants, K-Lab, Japanese Garden, and other projects. $20.2 million is for the special project accounts. Again, these deposits include non-refundable amounts taken from defaults on surety bonds for non-performance by developers or contractors. $1.9 million are restricted deposits held for BSS temporarily until the project is ready to begin. And then once the project is ready to begin, the funds are transferred to BSS. Normally, we like to set aside a working capital of 25% of the balance, which in this case is $33.1 million. And $7 million, an additional $7 million is set aside for pending transfers to the general fund and special fund for B permit and construction management fee accounts. As you can see, the net cash balance is negative $24.4 million, but when you factor in the 33.1, it gives you a net cash balance of $8.7 million. The third section of this report lists the top 5 accounts that total $119.1 million, or 77.1% of the entire fund. Again, these top 5 accounts are the B permits, general improvement guarantee deposits, special projects, excavation special work order deposits, and the vacation work order deposits. And the fourth section of this one-pager provides a loans overview through December 31, 2020. As stated, 114.1 million total in outstanding loans and pending loans equates to about 73.9% loan to balance to Public Works Trust Fund balance ratio. Of the 114, again, 110.4 is outstanding balance of 16 dispersed loans, and the other 3.7 consists of 3 approved loans pending disbursements. I would also like to note that not reflected in this report are additional $2 million in loan payments received between January and April, thus reducing the outstanding balance from $110 million to about $108.4 million. I'd also like to provide a quick update on some of the payment status for some of the larger loans with large outstanding balances. If you look at loan number 1, in particular the Seismic Bridge Improvement Program, the outstanding balance is $10 million. It is expected that this payment will be received in June 2024 when all projects related to this are completed. In regards to the loan number 3, the Prop 12 and 40 cash flow loan with an outstanding balance of $3 million, we heard back from Rec and Parks, and they are expected to pay this off by December 2021. The next loan, if you look at loan number 5, the North Atwater Multimodal Bridge loan with a balance of $6.2 million. According to BOE, 2 payments, one payment for 1920 and the payment for 2021 was supposed to be included in this year's first CPR, but due to the city's financial crisis, the CAO's office had to divert the payments. So we sent another follow-up letter to them actually earlier this week to see if and when the next payments will be received, possibly in the year-end FSR or hopefully early next fiscal year. If you jump down to
Hey, Norman, that was number 5. That was the North Atwater Multimodal.
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe they are set. The payments are at about 10% or 693,000 per year. So again, they owe us from 1920 and 2021, which roughly is about 1.3 million. So again, they were going to make these payments, but due to the CEO's recommendation to divert the payment because of the crisis, maybe now that hopefully things are getting better, we hope that payment will be received by early next fiscal year at the latest. Going on to loan number 15, the $10 million with the $10 million outstanding balance for energy payments due to BWP, payments are expected to begin in fiscal year 21-22 at $2.5 million per year. And lastly, just an update on the Connect for LA loan of $577,000, which is item number 16. It is included in the UB if adopted. The payment for these loans, including the SoCal valuation study, which is not listed yet because technically it wasn't dispersed till after December. Payments for those 2 loans will be paid through the unappropriated balance in fiscal year 21-22 if approved. And lastly, loan number 17, which is the $75 million loan, which is for the COVID-19 emergency response. In March 18th, the city's third FSR or mid-year FSR included the use of recently enacted American Rescue Plan to help balance the budget, which will provide federal relief to the city during the upcoming fiscal years. Based on this information, it is projected that this loan will be paid off by January 2022 or even possibly sooner. Also wanted to provide other updates on what's going on within the Public Works Trust Fund. As Dr. Campos probably have, and myself have mentioned in previous other presentations, we are currently working with BOE to review deposits within the special projects account, currently at $20 million, to determine the status of these deposits to see if projects need to be completed by the city or repurposed for like or similar projects within the same council district of which the deposit was made. We are also currently working with BSS on the Oak Tree and Street Tree deposit accounts to, again, investigate and start looking at these deposits to see if some of the funding in these deposit accounts can be repurposed to plant new trees or see what we can do with these fundings. The oak tree deposit currently has a balance of $717,000 and 45 deposits, and the street tree deposit account has over 1.9 million in the balance, with over 2,000 deposits that date back to 1988. So again, it's a constant back and forth between myself, BSS, and BOE to kind of get as much information as we can regarding these deposits to see what we can do with them and hopefully repurpose for the greater benefit of the city. We also continue to allocate funds within the 3 tree guarantee fees to BSS and city plants and contractors for the planting, watering, maintenance of the trees to be planted related to the tree guarantee fee. Lastly, keep in mind that this report provides an update through December 2020, which is 6 months of data between July and December 2020. I will be back sometime in November to present an annual report of the Public Works Trust Fund that will contain data from July through June of 2021. This concludes my oral report. Dr. Campbell and myself are here to address any questions you may have.
If I could just add 3 more points, President Good, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. 3 quick points. 1 is our pain points. Number 2, some of our focus area moving forward in the future. And then number 3, some accolades as well. Some of the pain points that we have experienced over the last 6 months to a year, no surprise to everyone, we have the separation incentive program. We lost 10 accountants in our accounting office, 3 of which were providing direct support to the Public Works Trust Fund, whether it was direct or indirect. So we are starting to notice the impact to that. Typically, what we have set ourselves to do reconciliation at 90 days, which is about 3 months behind. That's considered typical for us. Although our goal is to be about 45 days after the month ends, we have always set a goal for about 90 days. And we've been sustaining a 90-day reconciliation goal for about 3.5 years, almost 4 years. 6 years past for some of the members that are new to the board. 6 years ago, we were not reconciling for over 6 years, and we did not transfer any money to the general fund for nearly 3 years. That created a big cash flow issue for the general fund. So we've been pretty steady over the last 3 to 4 years, transferring anywhere from $8 to $12 million every year to the general fund. But I wanted just to highlight that is a pain point that we are experiencing. We are working very closely with the mayor's office, the CAO's office, and also the city council to try to advocate for more resources. We believe that those resources may be coming. However, as Mr. Tañada indicated, that is subject to the city council adopting the proposed budget for fiscal year 21-22. The second point is just our focus area for the future. We are focusing on sustaining what we have and preserving what we have, but at the same time figuring out how we can utilize some of the funding that's been sitting there for 20, 30 years. As Mr. Tañada indicated, we've been focusing a lot with our street tree deposits, close to about $3 million there. We've been working with the Bureau of Street Services now for about 6 months on a monthly basis. We have a team of about 8 to 10 people that meet every month. We're trying to figure out all the details that go behind these hundreds of deposits that go into place. The challenge for us there is really about the documentation, because these are 20, 30-year-old deposits. We're trying to figure out, were the trees planted, were they not? If they were not treated or planted, then that makes it so much easier for us to go ahead and make a recommendation to your board and city council to repurpose those funds so that we can then plant new trees for using the funds that are in the Public Works Trust Fund. So we're working on that, and we're seeing a lot of headway in that area. We're also seeing a lot of clarity in regards to what we can do for our U permits and our E permits. So U permits and E permits are excavation permits. So when a developer comes in or a utility company wants to break our street or excavate through our streets, they have to pull a U or E permit. So we do have several millions of dollars in those buckets, and we believe that we can debottleneck that and then send that over to the general fund, but that does require some human capital. So again, we are working through those challenges, wanted to focus on that and highlight that. And as Mr. Tañada indicated, collecting our loans. So we know that our loan to balance ratio is extremely high. This is extraordinary times. However, we believe that we've been able to sustain it. We are working closely with the mayor's office and CAO's office to collect those funds back and repay those loans. So Mr. Tañada just recently sent out notifications to all debtors, if you will, and we are closely monitoring that. And my last point, which is the accolades, I wanted just to give a quick shout out to Norman, Mr. Tenata, because he doesn't do this to himself, but I wanted to recognize his work. This year alone, we are pretty much on point to transferring $8.8 million in addition to the $8 million that we transfer for B permits. So that's a $16 million cash flow assistance that the city is going to receive, the general fund is going to receive, whether it's going for a capital improvement project, for example, the Broadway project that's receiving about $7 million, or whether it's the tree guarantee project, we've transferred close to $600,000 in the last 2 years. But wanted to just to do a quick kudos to him for his assistance in helping us move about $9 million this year. In the last 3 years, the Public Works Trust Fund has funded about $14 million, just to give you an order of magnitude. We believe that having dedicated resources does provide a great ROI. It just requires a lot of time, and it's very detail oriented. And as Commissioner Caloza has shadowed us in the accounting world, every single little deposit requires anywhere from 10 to 100 transactions per deposit or per permit. So it's not just a matter of looking at one transaction, it's thousands of transactions. So with that said, thank you for your time and consideration of this update, and we will take any questions that your board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Okay. Let's entertain any questions folks have. President Pro Tem Davis?
I realize how critically important the public trust fund is and how it has really been a lifesaver to some of the operational challenges that we've had throughout the city. As I've listened to the report that you have given, I appreciate the balance in terms of giving us a clearer indication of the operation challenges that we have in it. And I also appreciate understanding the impact of COVID-19 in terms of what it has done as far as us enduring the accounts receivable on some of the items. So my question is one in terms of policy with the Public Trust Fund. And it is when people make the loans from us, do we have any certain limits of how, in fact, entities can borrow money based upon their performance of repayment on existing loans, or not? I don't seemingly I don't have a copy of our operating rules around the Public Trust Fund, but I just wanted to ask that question in terms of what that means for us.
Sure, Commissioner Davis. I will take this, and then Mr. Tenata, if he has anything to add to that. President Pro Tem Davis, our annual reports do include our rules and guidelines to the Public Works Trust Fund. One of the documentations that we provide your board every year, and we can always forward this to your board again, is the rules on how we go about and protocols on how we go about requesting loans and managing the loans per se. Every bureau or every department that wishes to pursue a loan has to get a pre-approval process in place. There is a protocol that we have and a form that we have that we work with the departments. Once we determine whether the funding is available or not available, then we will make a recommendation to either pre-approve the loan or not pre-approve the loan. If it's not pre-approve the loan, if it's to not pre-approve the loan, that usually comes because the balance to loan ratio has been exceeded. We typically will do anywhere from 25 to 35%. That's kind of our comfort zone, if you will. As of right now, we're about 76% or 71% regarding our loan to ratio. Mr. Tenata can probably correct me on that number, but we know it's extremely high, and we know that it's outside of our normal protocol. However, because of COVID, we believe that was a one-time exception, and it was a calculated risk that the board took based on our recommendation that we can support that front funding temporarily for COVID purposes. So once we get that pre-approval, once we determine whether we can afford it or not, then we will work with the bureaus or departments to come to your board to seek that approval. Once the approval is secured by your board, we will go to the mayor and then ultimately to city council to approve it. So there's a series of steps, internal protocol, if you will, internal controls that we have to make sure that everything is done and documented correctly. In regards to your latter question, which is how do we go about repaying the loans or securing the repayment of the loans? Typically, and in all cases, as of right now, a department or a borrower needs to document that they can actually repay us back, whether it be through a grant, which is about 90% of all the loans that we have are grant funded, meaning that we're front funding the grant project and then the grant reimburses us back. In some cases where there is no grant or no contract to show that there's a cash flow coming back in for reimbursement, then we will ask the city council to commit to a general fund reimbursement. In the cases of the COVID-19 emergency funds, and then also the Connect 4 LA project, which is loan number 16 and 17, we actually did secure commitment from the mayor's office and city council that should the money not come in through the federal government or other means, that the general fund would then reimburse us back. So there's recourse, is kind of what I'm trying to say. There's always a recourse to repay that loan. So we do not blindly lend out money. This money is in trust for the developers. This money is under your fiduciary duty, my fiduciary duty to protect it. It's not money that we can just write off and just lend out. In some cases, there are loans that are assessed in interest. Other cases, we do not assess the interest because the interest earned goes to the general fund. So with that, there is a protocol, and we will be more than happy to send you those rules. They are attached to our annual report, but we can send that out to your board as well.
Well, given our diversity in stakeholders, we have at least 43 departments in the city. I would suspect that all of them would be eligible if they have a need to apply for the fund if they need it. Having said that, is there a limit that any one entity can have in terms of cases presenting for consideration? Or can, let's say, for example, one entity, I have 10 items that I need a loan fund for, or is it no standard as it relates to that?
Great question. We don't have a limit per se. What we do have is we have our maximum ceiling, which is 35% balance to loan ratio. Our desired goal is 25, and we've been hovering between 25 and 35 for about 10 years now. So that's our number one metric, if you will, that we use. In regards to how we lend out the money, it's really first come, first served. Not all departments will seek a loan. Our preference would be to lend out to the Department of Public Works, our bureaus, so reinvesting back to public works projects. That's our number one priority. If there is no request for loans for other public works projects, then we could entertain approvals or loans for other departments if that need arises. For example, the mayor's office for COVID-19 or even Connect 4 LA. But typically, it's for public works bureaus, and that's our preference. But we have lent out to the controllers or CAO's office or even Rex and Parks. But they do need a document that they can actually repay us back.
All right, thank you. Norman, did you have some information for me on that inquiry?
No, I think Dr. Campos covered everything.
Well, thank you both. Thank you for a great report.
Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Closer.
Thank you, President Good. No questions for me. I thought Dr. Campos and Mr. Tanada did a great job, as always, balancing our books and making sure we are being responsible and making sure that we're getting as much of the payments back in a sustainable way before we loan out any more money. So I appreciate all your hard work in this, and I would be remiss without thanking our former President Kevin James again for getting us back on track, and I just appreciate all your work. I know this is a whole endeavor on its own, just keeping track of all these accounts, all these transactions, each one on its own is keeping you plenty busy. So I appreciate the summary and getting these updates. So thank you both.
Thank you, Commissioner Closer. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I have a quick question, Norman, or Dr. Campos. I know that you usually give a statistical number of where we're at with our loans and the loans that have come out. What is it where we're at? And I know, Fernando, you always have a comfortable number. Are we at a comfortable stage right now?
Yeah. Our protocol is 25% floor and up to 35%. That's our balance to loan outstanding ratios that we use. We exceeded that with COVID. And we exceeded that because of the $75 million loan that we lent out to the city to get us through this crisis. The good news is that the ARP is coming our way. We have documented what we spent the monies for, or the loan monies that were dispersed. So we have that documentation from the CAO's office. We're going to send that over to City Council to receive and file. The next step after that is to start looking at collecting that money back. So there is reference in the financial status report, as Mr. Tignata indicated, that the money will be coming to us. We'll start coordinating with the CAO's office to ensure how much we can get that back. The loan itself is due by December 31st of 2021. So technically the city has until the end of this calendar year to repay the loan. However, our understanding is that they may make a payment before June 30th and then possibly another payment in the first FSR, but no more than the mid-year FSR of fiscal year 21-22. So I'm confident that the monies are coming in. That puts me at a comfort zone of a good comfort zone. However, in terms of comparing it to our policies and practices, it is above and exceeds where we should be.
Got it. I figured. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Good job, Norman. Always on keeping on track where we're at with this account. 100%. We need you on this. And thank you again, Dr. Campos, for your oversight. It's always, I know you do much more than oversight. You're very much involved with all of this. So thank you both on your hard work and keeping us together here and making sure that we do have money. And I echo Commissioner Colosa's on our past president as well, because we were able to give out this loan because the books are so well intact that we are able to see the big picture and the short picture right away. And that is a big thing. So thank you for that. That's all for me, President Good.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I appreciate the report as well, from Norman and from Fernando. It's super thorough. It gives me more perspective also just on our trust fund. You know, I feel like I don't know enough about it. So I appreciate just the spreadsheet that you were able to give us, Norman, on this. And I'm heartened to listen to your report as well and learn that our departments or agencies can also use the public trust fund, especially for grants, because those are on a reimbursement basis. So many don't have the cash flow in their own general funds to be able to develop projects. I saw that for some of the grants with Parks and Recreation. So it's nice to be able to see that and that we're able to front that money for them. You mentioned, Dr. Campos, some of the other, programs that, we lost 10 accountants and 3 of them were direct, reports on this trust fund. I don't know if there is an opportunity here or if you've thought of this. I'm sure you have, because you're always 10 steps ahead. Is there any way to take advantage of this time and really look at what can be automated or what can be done to be able to include like the CAO's office to be able to see how much of manpower we've lost and quantify that and see if there's any kind of systems change that we could do? I don't know.
Yeah, excellent question, Commissioner Villegas. I'll take a first stab at that question, and then Mr. Tignata can join me. During our budget deliberations that just occurred a couple of weeks ago with the Budget and Finance Committee, we did propose a revenue preservation generation packet for consideration. It appears that there was a lot of traction. We won't know until the next week or two whether it's going to be approved or not. But we were thinking about bringing back human capital or resources back, but not in the same way as an accountant or transactional support, but more of analytical, so that we can actually streamline and automate, as you indicated. We know that there's ways that we can do things different. We just need to start looking at the numbers, let the numbers and the data drive our decisions, so that we can look at ways that we can move this out and do it much faster. For example, having an analyst on board would allow somebody to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, somebody that's coming in for the first time, looking at our processes and re-engineering the process, right? If it's not broken, then we won't, it doesn't need to be fixed. But in cases where there are operating efficiencies, in cases where we can start utilizing technology to automate the process, then let's do that. Let's go ahead and invest in those steps and those tools. The challenge for us is that we have had resources on the transactional part, which is more of the accountant side. So instead of bringing back 3 accountants, what we propose is to bring back 2 accountants to do the billing and collections, and then having one person or one of those positions modified, if you will, or changed over into the analytical, what we call a policy research, so that they can actually work with the Bureau of Street Services, Bureau of Contract Administration, Bureau of Engineering, to look at ways that we can close out these projects, make sure that we're capturing the work order expenses so that we can then charge against the trust fund, and then ultimately transfer that money over to the general fund. So great question. We are thinking about it. We are looking at it. I think there's an opportunity there to leverage our technology as well. The challenge for us is really having the resources in place to actually start teasing out or testing those pilot concepts. So we are continuing beating the drum and asking for resources, asking the CAO and the mayor's office to support us. We know that there's a lot of money in there, millions of dollars that can be transferred over to the general fund. We just have to make sure that it's well documented, that it's well supported, it's justifiable and defensible before we do that. And I believe that's been the biggest issue for this department, that we haven't been able to do that in the last 10, 20, even 30 years.
I appreciate it. I knew you'd be ahead of the game here. Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Norman, Fernando, I do have a couple questions. On loan number 15, energy payments due to the DWP, the nomenclature there confuses me, because this is for loans. These are for loans receivable, and it says energy payments to the DWP. Can y'all just unpack that one for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Norman, do you want to take that, or do you want me to go ahead?
I know you're more familiar with it. I can look up and provide a report back, but I know you probably know it more than I do off the back of your head. So if you can provide.
Sure, I'll unpack that for you, President Good. The loan for item number 15 was a loan that was authorized to the Bureau of Street Lighting. For a series of years, the Bureau of Street Lighting had received many bills throughout the years from DWP. This is the time that DWP was moving from its billing system into a new billing system. Some of the bills were erroneously increased, if you will. They had high dollar amounts. And our then director, Mr. Ed Ibrahimian, was questioning the bills at that time. This is about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, was questioning the bills in regards to why was there such a 300 to 400% increase in the energy bills for the Bureau of Street Lighting. And so instead of making the payment, Mr. Ibrahimian was trying to negotiate with the Department of Water and Power and really to get more clarity on how did the bills go from a couple $1 million to several tens of millions of dollars overnight from one month to the next. So therefore, Bureau of Street Lighting was paying the minimum due, but not paying the total amount due for the bills. That process took about 2 to 3 years during Miss Norma Isahakian's era. She did negotiate with the DWP to bring those bills down. They were successfully able to reduce the total amount due to the DWP because of various circumstances and supporting evidence from the Bureau of Street Lighting. However, the Department of Water and Power requested a very large amount. I believe it was $10 to $20 million. Don't quote me on the dollar amount, but it's several millions of dollars. They wanted that money to be paid upfront before the credit could be issued. I believe that in order for them to receive the credit, if my memory serves me right, is that the Bureau of Street Lighting would receive a credit of $10 million, but they would have to actually pay down on the debt owed, the liability owed by $10 million as well. So in other words, the Bureau of Street Lighting would pay $10 million. DWP would then credit them another $10 million, so the balance would come down by $20 million. The cash flow wasn't there in the street lighting maintenance assessment fund, so therefore, working with the Bureau of Street Lighting, we decided to make a recommendation to borrow money from the Public Works Trust Fund, with the understanding that they would pay us back over a 4-year period, $2.5 million per year, because that's more of their cash flow capacity, if you will.
And thank you. I remember that Michigas very well, and I appreciate the recap of that. I remember Ed. It's So Norman, you said already, you already reported, but I missed, or I didn't miss it, but remind. So then, BSL is on pace with those payments?
Or they'll make their first payment next fiscal year at 2.5 million per year over the next 4 years after that, and then 3 years after that.
Got it. Thank you very much. Super helpful. Also, loan number 9, the CAL FIRE loan. Is this us front funding on that grant?
This particular loan, number 9, is a loan to the Bureau of Sanitation for a separate CAL FIRE grant. I believe the one that you're referring to is pending disbursement, and there hasn't been no activity on that loan yet regarding the 1.5 million from CAL FIRE as well for the Office of Forest Management within the board as well.
So this is a loan to sanitation that they're actually getting paid?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then lastly, moving back up the page, in the sort of breakdown of the predominant deposits or the accounts in this process or in the fund, can I assume that the guaranteed tree fee permit or tree fees fall under item 2, general improvement guarantee deposits?
That's actually a whole, that's all, the list of the top 5 accounts are all separate accounts in itself. The tree guarantee fee, which also consists of 3 additional accounts, are separate accounts that make up the 40 total within the Public Works Trust Fund.
Okay. So what kind of percentage of the overall trust fund do the tree permit fees amount to? Ish, ballpark. I mean, I hold you to it.
Yeah, it's minimal. Again, probably the range for the tree guarantee fee could range between 300 to 5, depending on the year, 300 to 500,000 per account per year. So that would be 1 million or 1.5 million of the total 154. So possibly 1%.
So the ones that we sort of those deposits, those tree fee guarantee deposits that we untangled this fiscal year for Streets LA.
Yes.
That basically wound down a significant that part. Was what eight-ish up to close to $9 million?
Usually the tree guarantee fee is allocated over 3 years, so roughly, possibly again maybe about 700,000. It wouldn't be in the millions, just because it's spread over a 3-year period. So each deposit, each year within each of the tree guarantee fee deposit accounts are reconciled and then spread over a 3-year period. So each year, BSS or city plans can be receiving an allocation of year 2 from 1 year, year 3 from another year, and year 1 from another deposit. So again, in essence, that's part of my job, is to reconcile and spread that over a 3-year period every year.
So how did it end up being such a big chunk in this fiscal year that Streets LA got?
It might be a combination of 2 fiscal years, 1920 and 2021 funding. And it also was, I believe, a combination of another contract amendment from LADWP for the MOU. So it's a combination of funds, I think, that we did regarding that report. So it's the tree guarantee, funding from the tree guarantee fee accounts and the LADWP MOU.
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, just to possibly bring more clarity, we do have more than 30 revenue accounts. Each of those accounts has its own purpose, correct? Tree guarantees represent 3 of the 30 revenue source codes. About $600,000 was transferred over the last 2 years from the tree guarantee. That program has been in place for now 3 years. We're on the 3rd year. We've transferred year 1 and year 2. That represents approximately over 200 trees for sure. Just for planting trees alone, it's about 221. And then street services trees or public right-of-way trees is another dozen or so trees, possibly even more. So those 3 are just for the tree guarantee. We also have other accounts for tree planting, for example, our oak tree that Mr. Tenata indicated. We also have money for our street tree deposits, and then we also have appropriations for street services as well. So we're working on those as well with the Bureau of Street Services. So I don't want to, I'm trying to bring more clarity that there's 6 different accounts that they all work differently and independently from each other, but they're all for the Bureau of Street Services for purposes of trees. Does that make sense?
Some universe of those myriad accounts is what cumulatively got to the large transfer this past year.
The large transfer, the $7 million transfer, was a development project on, I believe, 11th and Broadway, if I'm not mistaken, and Mr. Tignana can correct me if I'm wrong. But it's a project that was defaulted, and we negotiated and we settled. The City of Los Angeles, the council, settled with the developer to actually give that deposit to the City of LA to move that project forward. So that's not related to street services. It's more of an engineering project. The money that we did transfer for street services was the tree guarantee money. In addition to that, we did, I believe, close to about $1 million for Council District 4 and Council District 12 for street improvement and concrete plates. So we were able to assist about $1 million to the Bureau of Street Services this year alone. Next year, we anticipate to assist them with another $1 million at least.
Okay. I actually have a perverse interest in getting more clarity, but I don't want to drag it.
I hope I try to clarify. I'm not sure. There's a lot of accounts, and every account works differently.
Yes.
Cumulatively, these 6 accounts has, I don't know the exact number, Mr. Tenata can correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably about $3 to $4 million just sitting in those accounts. Ultimately, that money is going to be reinvested back, hopefully, to street trees, planting, if you will. We just need to make sure that we can document everything in place. The tree guarantee program is much easier because we have a protocol, we have the procedures, we have the rules and guidelines. So it makes things much easier to move forward. Whereas the tree deposits, they're based on a guarantee that the trees will survive over a 3-year period. So we have to actually go out to the site, every well, and inspect the tree to make sure that they've survived. So it's a long process.
Yeah, okay, for sure. So, yes, you, no fault of y'all's, I still would benefit from more clarity, which we'll do offline. All right, that's all I have on the item. Thank you, Norman. Thank you, Dr. Campos, for the report. Very helpful. Any follow-up questions, Davis, Garcia, Villegas, or Ponce?
Oh, good report, and we look forward to many more. Let's monitor the money carefully.
Indeed. All right, thank you all. So, Dr. Campos, does that clear the decks?
Yes, it does.
I believe it does. Perfect. All right, so with that, any parting shots, colleagues? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, Norman. Dan, did you need anything? Just here to hang out.
Just love being here and listening to
that's right.
all the great projects.
Fabulous. That's right. And we're back to having Bureau representatives. Thank you. I forgot that. Yes. It's good to see you. And everybody else who's on there. All right. Thanks. Sorry about that. All right. This meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a great day.
Bye.